afternoon, everybody in the Student Lounge. We are about to have candidate Q&A for the upcoming USASA elections. So if you're interested, I would encourage everybody to come and take a seat on the beanbags or stay where you are. This is a great opportunity for you to hear from the candidates who are running for City West Rep and President of the USASA Board. My name is Rosalind Cox and I'm going to be facilitating today's Q&A with candidates. The way this is going to work is we're going to start off with presidential candidates. We've got 3 presidential candidates who are going to be talking to you today about why they're running for the board. It's also a great opportunity for you to ask them any questions you might have about what they're going to do for you as students. Then we are going to go to the City West Rep candidates. And again, we've got 4 of those, and again, there'll be an opportunity for you to hear from them as to why they are running and why you should vote for them. Okay, so I'm going to welcome onto the stage our 3 presidential candidates. We have Grace Dixon. We've got Natansh Modi and Ryan Kennealy. Welcome, everybody. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We are going to answer, you are going to have an opportunity to answer the questions alphabetically by first name. So everybody will have an opportunity to answer the question first, and everybody will have an opportunity to answer the question last. So, first question for all of you. Why have you chosen to run for President of the USASA Board? I'm going to start with you, Grace.
So my name's Grace Dixon, fortunate enough to be the female candidate for USASA President. Why I'm running, like most uni students, about 3 years ago I had no idea what USASA was or what they did until I came across an activation at Mawson Lakes, and that's where I first got involved. And this year I was fortunate enough to be Mawson Lakes representative and continue on increasing student engagement, connecting with students on the ground, and that's what I hope to continue next year if I'm fortunate enough to become president.
My name's Natasha. I'm also running for the board president. The key reason for that is purely due to the fact that I've been on the USASA board for 2 years. I've seen the ins and outs of what is happening and what are the key issues that still remain with USASA, and I aim to work on them.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Kennealy and I'm also running to be the next USASA president. And why? Because 2019 is going to be the most exciting year to be a UniSA student. I believe that I've got the right experience and the right values and skills to be able to lead USASA through next year. I do believe that I do have the most comprehensive policy platform, and I look forward to us hearing your questions today about my policies, but I do just want to touch on some of my experiences. So I've been a former USASA representative. I've sat as one of your City West reps in 2017. I've also been an academic integrity ambassador, so actually going out there and engaging with students not only about what academic integrity is and why it's important, but how they can demonstrate it in their studies and in the workplace beyond. And last year I was fortunate enough to be a project officer in student engagement as well, where I worked with a team of students to develop a brand new student engagement website. And this allowed me to engage with very high level decision makers in the university. And as president, I look forward to continuing those relationships and making sure that we can create the best student experience.
Wonderful, thank you all for that. Second question, looking out to 2019, what do you think are the top priorities, let's say the top 3 priorities for students across the University of South Australia? Natansh, we'll start with you.
Obviously, the biggest priority would be regarding the merger, or if the merger doesn't end up happening, it will be looking at Enterprise 25 and looking at whether we can do something about McGill students and City East students. The second priority would be looking at providing some sort of a welfare program for students, and the third one will be, again, providing sort of an incentive for international students as well.
For me, I see the biggest 3 priorities. I'm going to steal one from Natansh. I do agree, it is the merger, absolutely. I don't really have a view on whether the merger should go ahead or not, but if it does, this is the commitment that I can make to you. I will be your strongest advocate. I know, having sat on particularly academic board, I'll give you an example. Last year, as I sat on academic board, the decision was made to cut the international relations program from the university. Now, at the time, as an international relations student, having your program cut in front of your own eyes probably wasn't the best thing. But I did see the value, and afterwards the university saw the value of student partnerships and advancing that idea. That's something I'm a very strong advocate for, and that's something I'll continue as your USASA president. One of the other big things I see for students is access to counselling services. Last year, as part of the LEAD program, I was a part of a team that did a major research project into what sort of online services that we can provide as USASA and as the university to make sure that you're getting the support you need. So we came up with a whole list of recommendations. They were really well received from the university, and as president, one of my priorities would be making sure that we can deliver on those recommendations. And the last one is our regional campuses. Making sure that we're engaging with them and making sure that they feel included and not isolated. One of the big things that I want to do, one of the first things I want to do as president is take a trip to both campuses, engage with both the new regional reps and make sure that USASA can provide the best services and making sure that those regional campuses don't feel left out.
Thank you. I guess the topical issue is obviously the merger potentially happening next year. This year have been, again, part of the board, and we did a full student consultation across all campuses, which was involved in, where we talked to over 1,000 students on their thoughts and feelings towards potentially merging. And that was a report that we handed to Pro Vice Chancellor so that the students' voice was heard and not just, top-end economic deals between the universities where the students were overlooked. So definitely continuing looking out for students' well-being and what will happen to them, whether it be the merger or not. Obviously, it's public knowledge that some campuses will be closing down regardless, and what will happen to those students is a very big concern, especially being a student representative. Secondly, one of my passions is mental health and breaking the stigma around how students don't really talk to one another. So just providing, obviously, the counselling we already offer and having awareness about it's okay to, talk about these issues that everyone's going through. And as a student across all campuses, everyone goes through the same things we do, the same stresses we do. So that will be a main focus, as well as being on a team who I think majority international students are running on Unite with me, and a lot of the ideas and initiatives support international students and involving them in having more club events, more student interactions where everyone's invited, helping new students that come obviously internationally into an environment where they can meet people, domestic students, socialise in these events. We've seen an amazing growth in clubs and events held over the past 2 years, and definitely just continue providing these safe environments for domestic and international students to socialise together, I guess, yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, next question. What are your top 3 values, and how will those values benefit the students of the university? Ryan, we'll start with you.
Cool. My top 3 values: honesty, integrity, professionalism. For me, really the first 2 really do go together. As students and as student leaders, we have to be honest with you, who we represent, but we also have to be honest with ourselves. And that means asking you as students who have elected us to hold us to account. So if I'm elected president, one of the things I'm going to ask each and every one of you to do is hold me to account. If I've lied to you, deceived you, cheated in some way that you think has been done, I want you to call it out. And I want you to do that for the rest of the board as well. you elect us, you need to hold us to account. And it's also, the other value is professionalism. I have some really good working relationships with some of the most senior decision makers at the university. And one of the things that I strive myself on doing is making sure that I'm keeping those working relationships as professional as I can. But that also means, as president, being professional on the board, making sure you're leading a professional board as well. Some of the things that I want to do are making sure that the board is keeping to our objectives as they're outlined in the Constitution. And that means having ongoing evaluations. One of the first things I want to do is, in January, is sit down with every single board member and ask them what they want to achieve for the year. And I want to set together some KPIs with each individual board member, but I also want to set them for the board as a whole so that we have some realistic goals, some smart goals to work towards. And I also want to make sure that as a board we're evaluating ourselves. So I've come up with a process to, every few months, evaluate the board and make sure that we're sticking to our objectives as they're outlined in the Constitution.
Thank you. My first value, would be something that my dad had always raised me with, is having integrity. He always said he likes to sleep at night, having a clear conscience, and I think that has very much shaped me as a moral compass. So again, I'm not someone who is deceitful or lies to people, because obviously then I wouldn't be having a good sleep at night. So thanks, Dad, for that. My second is a fair go for all students. I think as if you're running as a student president representative, you are representing everyone, whether you're from the regional campuses or City West. I know people have a stigma that City West is the big game player, and the regionals and the metro campuses are just side to that, but it shouldn't matter. International, domestic, City West, regionals, we should all be exposed to the same services, same clubs, same everything. It shouldn't matter at all where you come from. Lastly, I believe in terms of leadership, I'm a very positive person. I don't appreciate negativity or get involved in, disputes between people. And I think if you're a leader, having positive relationships with everyone on your board and the staff you work with is a strength to have, in terms of people respond better when they're in a positive environment and if you have good working relationships with everyone. So I'm very much a team. I'm not a dictator in terms of okay, I'm now your president and you guys work for me. It's very much, what can I do to support you in your role? Because working together in a positive environment is how I work best, and how other people will work best as well in their roles next year.
My three values will be honesty, integrity, and meticulousness. Obviously, honesty and integrity for the two reasons that Ryan has outlined. But about my third quality, it's about being meticulous. Next year, we are looking to work for a constitutional review. It is about time the USASA's old constitution goes and we work on something that is better for students. I will be very, very thorough, and I will take a thorough review process with all students and with all board members and with staff members to see what is best for this institution. I have also worked through the perpetual fund investment for USASA's money that has accumulated over the years. That, again, reflects my meticulous nature by looking at different financial records and also working through them.
Thank you all. I am now going to open up to the floor. So what I'd like you to do is, if you have any questions for all of our candidates, I'd like you to pop your hand up, come up here, and I'll hand you the microphone to ask your question. We've got one from Pamela. So if anybody in the audience, if you've got any questions for any of our candidates, please feel free to come up to the front, and this is your opportunity to really get an answer to a question you have for your potential president next year.
Okay, so this year, current USASA Board has worked a lot for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. We've made a lot of advances, there's still a long way to go. So what will you be doing next year to work with the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander student rep A to further along what we've done this year and continue the work we've been putting in?
Great question, thank you. Grace, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Well, bias aside, the fact that Pamela and I are on the same team and have worked together this year, definitely continuing affiliations with all the services that we currently provide and not cutting funding to that. Sometimes certain people want to cut funding to certain services, but I think it's very important that they very much have a position on our board, and any things that Pamela needs to attend to speak up for them, 100% support. So
Yeah, my thing will be the same as well. Continue the affiliation with USASA and supporting Pamela in any way I can, and also listening to Pamela whenever she wants something to be done for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students.
One of the big things that I want to be able to do is to not only work with you, but actually listen, and actively listen as well. And I think there's a difference between the two. You can listen to someone, but you can also then actively listen, and that means making notes of exactly what you've said and repeating then back to what you've just said, so that I've fully understood some of the perhaps ideas that you've got. I do agree the affiliation is really important. That's been a really big step forward. It's also a really good time. USASA has just come out of the finishing off the strategic plan for the next 3 years, and having ATSI engagement in that is going to be really, really important going forward.
Thank you. Well, I have a follow-up question. How many of you know how many Aboriginal students are studying at the University of South Australia? Yep. We'll start with Ryan and then go. Pamela, do you know the answer to that question?
I don't know the exact number. I'm going to make a educated guess, a percentage. I think it's about 1.5%.
Yeah, that will be my guess as well.
Again, off the top of my head, from previous conversations when we've been doing the numbers of students, I believe it would be around the 1-2%.
Excellent. So maybe something that all the candidates can look up at another time. Okay, another question.
I'm studying a small degree, urban regional planning. There are 9 of us in first year, so there won't be a first year intake next year. Obviously, as part of USASA President, USASA Board, you have to represent students on academic boards and things like that. How will you fight for small degrees like that, particularly in light of the university seemingly getting smaller, either through Enterprise 25 or through merging with that lady university?
Great question. Natansh, we'll start with you.
So I have a consistent record in standing up for students like that. Last year, when international degree was cut from McGill, we stood up as 5 members of USASA Board, not just me, but also Ryan here as well. And we told the academic board members that this is just not fair. There should be a proper student consultation process. We outlined all the different reasons why this should not have happened, or if it has happened, it should have had an extensive review process. Again, we did ensure, even if it's a small victory, that people do get stipends, so that they are able to come across the costings of different courses doing it perhaps Flinders University or doing it at Adelaide University, where they charge a bit higher to do certain courses as well. Again, at the academic board, we do not have the numbers. We can, again, always show solidarity, but it does not translate into active change, unfortunately.
Yeah, so just adding on what Natansh said, making sure that even if we're not able to save a program, making sure that anyone who is affected by those changes is actually looked after. That's an absolute priority. But I do want to come back to one of the things I talked about right at the start, was the idea of student partnerships. One of the things I was engaged with as your City West rep in 2017 was actually the project to revamp George Street. So it's a long project, but it's going through quite a big change. When I walked into the first meeting, it was actually really good to see some students sitting on that discussion panel. And I've seen this as a bit of a two-way street. They're, as students who use that facility, they're contributing into the ideas that are going to make George Street much better. But as the other side to that, they're also getting skills out of that as well in terms of project management and consulting and negotiating. This is something that I'm really passionate about, is actually getting more students into leadership across the university. There are so many boards and committees right now that lack student ideas and the student voice. So that will be a big priority of mine, is to make sure that a lot of work has gone into this. In 2017, continuing on this year, I've seen a lot of work go into it. I want to make sure we continue that process so that we actually don't end up in places where major programs are being cut with very limited student consultation.
Thank you. Like Natansh said, when it comes to academic board, unfortunately, 5 of us, 10 of us, we can't stack out against the academics, but by being there, we say, like, this is the student voice, and whether it be they go back and review why they're doing it, or they can explain to us why they're doing it, at least we have more information. This year I've been lucky enough to sit on Student Connect meetings at Mawson Lakes, where I'm currently a rep, academic board meetings, academic integrity meetings, and it's amazing to see how the student voice, by attending such meetings, whether it be academic board or even the campus connect, how that has real world effects. Like last year when all the student lounges got their revamps, Mawson Lakes was lucky enough to have an amazing student lounge put in with Zambreros, which was a big hit amongst students, and that was done by the current reps that sat on that board and said, this is what students want, this is why we're here, this is why, behind the clubs that we throw, behind the free barbecues we throw, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I think the everyday student doesn't realise USASA do, and this year I've dedicated my year solely to attending as many meetings as I can, whether it be City West, Mawson Lakes, so that student voice is heard, whether it be in redevelopments of the buildings, what we want to see as students, how we can, kind of say to head of schools, this is what we're concerned about, and so that they're not, again, as I said, all up in their superiority. We provide the voice, and that's where we're your middleman, where that's what we do, and that's what I've done at Mawson Lakes this year, City Connect, every rep next year should do as well, because I feel like it's important when you are elected in your role not to just get the title, next Friday and call it a day for the year. The great thing about having a team is that I very much endorse that the people who are representatives next year attend these meetings. Like, that is part of your role, whether it be, doing your own activations, providing free food and services, but then also behind the scenes, making sure you're in these meetings, you support students in academic reviews, and being that presence. That's very important.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. Up you come.
In our university, we do not have accommodation facilities for the students. Especially the international students who come here first, they have to struggle a lot for the accommodation. We apply for accommodation and we get rejected because we don't have the history. In many universities all over the world, they have the student accommodation. So, especially like those who lives in Mawson Lakes campus, there is not enough accommodation in Mawson Lakes area. The students have to live far from the Mawson Lakes, and really they have to struggle. There is a accommodation in Modbury, that is Torres Valley accommodation, that is not by university. But my proposal, if university can construct an accommodation in Mawson Lakes for the students, that would be very beneficial for the students. So do you have any plan regarding this issue?
Great question, and I want you to start by estimating how many international students you believe are at the University of South Australia at the moment. Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
There are a lot, which is a really good thing. To have so many international students here that are wanting to come to Adelaide, to Australia, to study, to be with us at UniSA is really, really good. As a percentage of total student population, I'm going to stab in the dark, but I will look it up later. I reckon it's probably about 30 to 35%. Oh, of course. I thought we were estimating first. Absolutely, I do agree with you. You know, when I've been looking to go overseas on exchange, one of the common things I see is accommodation on campus. It is something that we just don't do. And when international students come here, particularly into the city, and I'm sure like yourself at Mawson Lakes, to find accommodation for yourself is not only time consuming, but it is expensive as well. I'm very happy to work with the university to see if they've got any plans. I'm not aware of any at the moment, but I'm definitely happy to work with the university. I know who to speak to about that, getting that started, and actually looking at what we can do, because I know if we did look into it, I'm sure that the demand would be there, given how many international students we've got.
This is a great issue that actually Harsh, who is the international candidate that is on my team, we've already had this conversation, and coming from Mawson Lakes, I have a soft spot. Again, in terms of our role, definitely would love to work together, or whoever is on board next year, to make sure that, again, international students have an easier process to, because it's very unsettling, I imagine, moving country, not having family or knowing where you're staying, especially at Mawson Lakes, which is one of the biggest diversity campuses, and just working with Harsh again, because who's raised this issue, because he is out in the Mawson Lakes area as well, and even the small steps that Unite was able to do last year was the fact that people that live at Mawson Lakes, the library closed so that people were travelling into City West and then back out and at late hours of the night. So a small step to, you know, helping international students that are out there was opening the library 24 hours so that they would at least be able to be on campus. But in terms of a safe place to stay, that's definitely an issue that has been raised and hopefully can work towards next year.
How many international students?
35 to 40%-ish.
Yep, my guess would be that as well, 35 to 40%, slightly higher than Ryan Kennealy. Regarding the issue, again, I would just like to echo what both of them said, because I agree with their stance. And again, it is just something that USASA doesn't do at the moment, but obviously we would like to do a bit more about it. All we can do is just lobby the university and then tell them that this is certain things that international students really, really need.
Fantastic. So just for the record, there's just under 20%. Just under 20% of the university's population are international students, so a significant proportion. Fantastic question. Thank you very much. So that rounds out the candidate questions for the president of the USASA Board next year. What I'm going to ask you to do now is just wrap it all up. Full name, what you're running for, and why people should vote for you. And Grace, we will start with you.
So obviously my name's Grace Dixon, running for USASA President, and I would love the opportunity to represent all the students next year and definitely continue the relationships with the university around all the issues that we've just spoken about, including bringing in new initiatives such as mental health awareness, international awareness, and anything that, you know, the students want. That's what we're here for.
My name's Natasha Modi. I'm running for board president. Again, the main reason why I should get it was because of the fact that City East is a campus that I've worked pretty hard for the past 2 years, and that is what you're going to get with me. You're going to get that hard work, except for all campuses at university.
And my name is Ryan Kennealy. I'm running for USASA Student President. Under my leadership as President, I want to make sure that we are, as USASA, out there engaging with you as much as we can, both on campus and much better online. There'll be a much stronger focus on student partnerships, talking with decision makers at the university from the very beginning in major projects, and there will also be a strong focus on welfare as well, with a very particular look at counselling services and making sure that our regional campuses are included in big events as well.
Okay, big round of applause for our presidential candidates. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the students who asked some questions. Okay, now big round of applause for our City West candidates. Wonderful. Okay, same format. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to go alphabetically by first name. and you'll all have an opportunity to answer first and you'll all have an opportunity to answer last. Okay, so first question for you all. Why have you chosen to run for City West Rep, and why should people vote for you? So first name, what you're running for, and we are going to start with Bridget.
Thank you. I guess after being on the USASA board this year, in 2018, I really want to focus on continuing the really good work of USASA. So I guess focusing on things that we focused on this year as well. So down a little bit, which involves obviously increased student engagement. Obviously on university matters, including obviously the merger process, but also Enterprise 25 if that happens as well, but also anything that sort of comes our way as students from the university. The other one would be increased funding to clubs, and we've seen a lot more clubs events this year, which has been brilliant. And I guess as well, trying to make City West a more dynamic campus to be on, so that we can all sort of come to City West and be proud to be UniSA students, which obviously involves more events for domestic students and also for international students. So I guess the reason why I would like to be voted in is obviously because I've been on the USASA board this year, so I do have the experience of being on the board. I also know sort of all the ins and outs of the board, so hopefully be able to come in the new year and sort of just run with it, and to also obviously work with the board to see all these new things in 2019, which will be brilliant as well.
Yeah, great. So yeah, I'm Ned Feary. I'm running for City West Undergraduate Rep. I study urban and regional planning here. I'm only in first year, so I've only just started. But what's really struck me about UniSA is how great the facilities are, at least on this side of the City West campus. When you head over to the other side of George Street, it's a bit dead. And so that's one of the things that I really want to work for, is resurrecting the City West master plan that was put out a few years ago, I believe. That's really kind of fallen by the wayside. And I think that that's something that USASA should really be advocating for bringing back, and making sure that the university is fulfilling what it said that it was going to do. So I really want to be representing you on USASA board, because I think that I'm a hard-working person. I think that I can achieve great things for students of the university. I think that a lot of us really want the same things. We want students to be better off. And I think that I have the abilities, the knowledge, the capabilities, and the work ethic to really do that for students. So please vote for me.
Wonderful. And we've been joined by someone else, a last-minute candidate, Tracey, Wangui, Kiptoo. And what I'm going to do is, Bridget, for my benefit, I'm going to get you to come and stand next to Ned over here just so that I don't get confused. And then I'm going to have Tracey Tiffany, then Tracey, then Sage. So, Tiffany. No, yep, you're just next to Ned. So your turn to answer the question now.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Cao, and I actually come from China. I'm an international student. Before I sharing the reason I want to run this position, I want to share a short story. Actually, there was a girl before she decided to go abroad. She just stay at home for several years and keep away from the group friends. But actually, it's a big decision to study abroad. Yeah, it's a really big decision, because you have to face a totally different culture, you have to make different friends, and you have to speak even in the second language. Especially for me, I was that girl. And I know how hard it is to get started in a different country, and I totally understand what an international thinks. And I want to help those international students to, those one who are experiencing or experience the same struggles or depressions as me. I want to help you to face those problems, and I want to let you know where you can talk to, and who you can talk with. That's the main reason I want to run this position. I want to be a capable person to help them, to help those students.
My My grasp of the English alphabet has once again proven to be completely woeful. Sage, can you come and stand next to Ned and Tiffany, please? As we all know, S comes before T, so I'll hand over to you, Sage.
Yeah, well, I'm Sage. I'm running for both City West rep positions. I think that if you look around the world today, there are so many issues that I think USASA could actually take up. Like this morning I saw on the news that Fraser Anning in Parliament is pushing forward to the Senate to vote on having a plebiscite about whether or not Muslim immigration should be a thing in Australia. Like, that is absolutely disgraceful, and I think that USASA should take up anti-racist positions and support the rights of refugees. And I think that's something that, as a student activist and as a socialist, I think would be great to push USASA to have continual campaigns against those kinds of things. I think there's also, a problem right now with serious attacks on students' rights and serious attacks on funding for education. So last year there was over $2 billion cut to higher education in the budget, and I think that's something that student representative bodies should take serious stands against. I think that it was really positive last year to see USASA take up the Vote Yes for Marriage Equality campaign, as well as the Make Education Free Again campaign. And as a student activist, I think it would be really great to actually push USASA to go further and to take up campaigns around protesting against racism, or taking campaigns that are affecting broader society.
Good afternoon. I'm Tracey, Wangui, Kiptoo. The reason why I want to run for the City West representative is that as an international student and coming in here, it was really hard for me to actually know all the leaders and everything. It's really hard actually. If you ask most of them, they don't know we have something like this, or they don't know they can get someone to talk to. And the reason I want to be here is because I want to make it more social, so that people can I don't want to make it something that people stand up there and wait for people to come in. I want it to be one-on-one, probably make it more fun that we can go up there and say our issues. You know, sometimes you're so scared that if you go up there, probably some people will not probably agree with you. Probably for me, it's probably make it more social and our voices to be heard and following up on everything. Because we're only here for a short time, and if we can make that short time more than fun to be in, probably gonna make more of a fun uni to be in.
Thank you very much. Next question for all of you. What are the top 2 issues for students at City West in 2019? And what will you do to advocate for them on the board? I'll start with you, Ned.
So I think the top issue across the whole university is merger v Enterprise 25, etc. And obviously that affects City West a bit less, given that we're not McGill, we're not City East, we're not going to get shut down. But that said, I think that there's a lot that could impact upon City West with changes in what's going on and things like that. So we need to make sure that there's a student-centric approach to all of these discussions, that students are properly consulted. And so on board, I would be really, really attempting to actively campaign for students' voices in those discussions and making sure that students are heard and respected when the university is making decisions like that. The other thing about City West that I think students really want to see is student life. And whilst, as I said earlier, it's great on this side, less good on that side. So one of my other priorities will be to make sure that City West is a vibrant, great campus to be on, and that we can have a great time at university, really.
Yeah, I think there's a series of things that students care about around the fact that actually there's a huge attack on student rights and the ability for students to actually study to its full extent. So I think the merger is actually an attack on students, and actually a neoliberal attack that's about creating things like trimesters, lowering the ability of staff to actually teach properly, and making class sizes massive. Attacking the rights to penalty rates, which predominantly affect students because lots of students work on the weekends. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can say that USASA should take the front foot in absolutely taking a stand for students' rights and fighting this attack on students. I think that also comes into play with the fact that City West students would obviously care about the fact that actually I think there's like a lot of response leafleting around this stuff that I've been doing around the fact that the university has huge ties to weapons manufacturing companies, and a lot of students that I've talked to that are really responsive to the fact that that should not be happening, that corporations should not be able to buy the research that happens at universities, especially corporations that are incredibly militaristic, bloodthirsty and dangerous. And I think so, those are things that affect students.
And for me, I think the top issue I want to solve maybe some mental, to provide some mental programs. Based on my personal experience, I think we are clever enough to study or to handle our lives, but what's important and really hard to control is our attitude and our emotional stuff. I think, it's true. It's hard to control, but you still can do that because you are not the only one who is suffering some emotional stuff. Some other people maybe are suffering the same things like you. So what I want to do is just group them together, and I want to. Like some group meetings, we can share our emotions and help others. So when you see someone is suffering the same things as you just feel not lonely and not isolated. And the second one I want to try to improve is to raise some funds to the students who are suffering the financial issues, because maybe they really want to study hard, but they have to support their living expenses, so they have to work together, which makes things hard. So that's the second one I want to address.
The first big issue I would like to address is the merger, because the merger plus the tri-semester. That means that as international students means one more semester. That means more school fees and more stress to us and little lights to work. Because if we only have 40 hours to work when we're in school and then you add me one more semester, that means more 40 hours. And that means I won't have enough holiday where we are we're allowed to work full time. And that means probably won't be able to finish our degrees, and we'll probably have to leave it alone and go back home without getting to our goal which brought us here, and that means we have wasted time, and that will still lead to the issue of more depression, more mental illness, and probably that will make the situation more worse. And because we come here to get quality education, and if it means that will bring me mental illness, I'll probably better be back home. Probably will look to that issue. And I know, to me, I know adding one more semester means finishing uni quicker, but why finish quicker and more problems in the future? Thank you.
I think one of the biggest issues for students in 2019 onwards, I reckon there's a broader issue of just student engagement. So whether that be the university merger or Enterprise 25, I really think that that's something that USASA should be prioritising, because obviously there's other issues going on as well, including sort of having to understand international students' struggles a bit more, but also, whether it be something like, clubs needing more funding, or students needing more grants, or something like the trimester issue which you guys have highlighted, which being a law student I completely understand. I feel like student engagement is USASA's priority. It should be USASA's priority, because obviously we should be resolving things that you guys have issues with, not just sort of making our own agenda and going into those sorts of things. So I think that's the first priority. The second one is, I would say, is just trying to, obviously as a City West rep, make City West a more dynamic campus. And that sort of does tie into, I guess, resolving some of those issues that I highlighted before. So having more events, bringing both domestic and international students together is something that I think is really, really important. And I think it's something that all of us as City West students actually really want, is to be able to come into the student lounge and know everybody and say hello, and you know, you're happy to be here because you know a lot of people here. So I think that's something that, you know, really needs to be focused on, is having more events and, you know, providing clubs with more funding to do that as well. So
fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Okay, City US students, any questions for your candidates?
Who are you supporting for president in the upcoming elections?
Sage, we will start with you.
I'm supporting Grace Dixon for president in the upcoming elections. I think she'd be the best for the role as the people who are running.
Yeah, I'm supporting Grace Dixon as well because she's really passionate about helping others. Before attending the campaigning stuff, I have no idea about what it is, but Grace did help me a lot, so I would like to support you.
For the elections, because I know working as a team is the key to everything. Like having my own skills just alone will probably not make it, and I'll go for Natasha because he has brought us, all of us together, and we know if we work as a team, we're more likely to reach to the goal.
I'll be supporting Grace Dixon under Unite as president. I have been on the board with Grace this year, and she's done an absolutely amazing job. You only have to sort of go through her board reports to see that she's been absolutely everywhere, and not just for Mawson Lakes, but, you know, for other campuses as well. So, you know, as a City West student and City West rep, and potentially a City West rep next year, I think it's definitely, you know, Grace Dixon, support her.
I'm 100% behind Natansh Modi. Natansh is a fantastic guy. I've known him for years. He's got a lot of experience on board. He's been a fantastic administrator, and I think that that's somewhere where both of us have a lot of experience is in getting things done behind the scenes as well, whether that's constitutional reform, finance, and my other work in various non-profits. Natansh is a great guy, and the rest of the Activate team is fantastic as well, like Siga, candidate for postgrad, and all the other candidates for positions like international and things like that. We've got a fantastic team with Activate, and I wholeheartedly encourage all of you to support us.
Any other questions? City US students sitting. It's a great opportunity. Okay, I'm going to ask you one last question. Sig.
Hi, what would you do differently to the current City West reps?
Great question. Tiffany, we'll start with you.
What I'm gonna do, like, what I know in City West as majority is like the business students or some like international students. I would like to bridge to build a relationship between international students and local students, because okay, for myself, it's really hard to get started to make it to be friends with local students because I'm a bit shy. I'm a bit shy person, so sometimes I want to be friends with you, but it just too hard to get started. So I would like to try to, like what Bridget said, to involve more events. So, and involving more international students and local students to give them like a relaxed environment to make friends and to have drinks. Yeah, so make our uni life not just focus on the academic study. It's more about enjoyable.
What I'll do different other than making it more social is that I'll make sure whoever is getting out of City West to come out with experiences. We see as like business students, it's really hard to go to get like we have like electives. That means that we don't really have to go out there to work and get the experience. I would probably go into, if we can get the experience other than elective, because nowadays, like we went for the meeting for the chartered accounts, and they were like, we can't invest international students. And I wondered, if they can invest international students who are nursing, why not the business school? So we get out there and we can't even get the profession of what we are in school for. So I'll probably go into whoever graduates from business school probably have more experience and can be able to get a job within the first 2 years.
Okay. What would I do differently? Okay, well, I'm actually very, very proud of the achievements of obviously City West Remap and also the rest of the USASA Board of this year. I think we have done an absolutely amazing job considering some of the issues we've had to tackle, including obviously the uni merger and actually being able to go out there and speak to over 1,000 UniSA students. It was absolutely amazing, and just all the other things that we've been able to achieve, like increased funding to clubs and also student support services like the emergency grants program that will roll out next year. There have been some really great things that we have achieved, but I guess for next year, some of the priorities, of course, are trying to increase student engagement again. Like I said before, trying to engage more with international students, engage more with obviously clubs to see what they need, and also just students in general about some of the smaller issues or some of the more broader issues, I guess you could say as well, is definitely something that I would like to focus on. And I guess the other thing as well is just, like I've said before, trying to make City West a more dynamic campus. There's definitely more that we can do about that as well. And I guess around that, more of student engagement to be able to sort of facilitate that as well. So.
It's always hard when you get to this point in the line and everyone else has already said a bunch of great ideas. And I think that's a pretty common theme amongst us all. We all kind of want similar things. So, you know, we want to make this campus more lively. We want to make sure that international students are engaged. We want to make sure that all students are engaged. We want to make sure that campus life is lively. We want to make sure that students are properly represented on academic boards. And that's the thing, is that we all are fairly similar. It's about who you think's going to work most in your interests. I'm on campus every day, and so I think that part of what I'm about is being accessible and open to students, being able to talk to them and see what they want out of their USASA board and things like that. So that's, I think, hopefully what I'm hoping to make my point of difference is how open I am to students, how able I am to engage with students and free to talk to them, I suppose.
Yeah, so for the past couple of years as a UniSA student, I've been, involved in campaigns, handing out leaflets for marriage equality rallies, handing out, petitions in support of refugee rights, and, luckily and, absolutely amazingly getting hundreds of signatures from UniSA students, fighting around campaigns against racism and against homophobia. And I think that's something that could absolutely be brought to USASA as a body that should be on the front foot for fighting for student rights. And I think that would be a great thing to do in 2019.
Wonderful. Okay. Very quick. What's the question?
It's just a quick yes or no question, but I know one of the difficulties that Bridget had this year was the fact that the other two City West people on board actually resigned during their roles. So do you plan on seeing out the entirety of your term on the USASA board?
Okay, Tracey, we'll start with you. Yes or no?
Yes, I'll be on for the whole year. Thanks.
Yes, 100%, of course. I've done it this year and I'll do it.
Yep, 100%. Don't plan on changing unis anytime soon.
Yeah, I think the more socialist and USASA the better, and the longer the better.
No doubt.
Okay. So, last thing before we give you a resounding round of applause. Your full name, what you're running for, and why people should vote for you.
So I'm Bridget Barletta, and I'm running for the City West representative and City West undergrad representative positions. Why you should vote for me? I'm already on the USASA board. I have got the experience, so that means that January next year I'll pick up and start running with things, which is really, really good. I know the ins and outs of USASA, but also I'm prioritising what I think is probably in the best interest of students, and that is student engagement, actually finding out from you guys what the issues are rather than just assuming my own agenda. and also sort of being here to make City West a more dynamic campus, so that we're all proud to be UniSA City West students.
My name's Ned Feary. I'm running with Activate for City West undergraduate rep. And yeah, vote for me for being open, accountable, around campus, accessible, and fighting for students all day, every day.
Yeah, I'm Sage Jupe. I'm running with Left Action for City West rep and City West undergraduate. I think people should vote for someone who's going to push for USASA to be a body that supports the rights of students and supports campaigns on the ground.
And I'm Tiffany. I'm running for undergraduate in City West, and I'm here because I want to let you know I'm the person you can talk with, and you can share your ideas, share your emotion with, and I want to help you to anytime and anywhere.
I'm Tracey, Wangui, Kiptoo. Running with Activate. Vote for us because we're going to be accessible, we're going to be keen to details, and we're going to be a listening ear to you, and we'll make sure that we direct it to the right people, and we'll definitely follow up and make sure it's done when we're still on. Thank you.
All right, big round of applause for our 5 City West candidates. Thank you all. Okay, so all of you out there, I'd strongly encourage you to read more about all the candidates that are running in next week's election. It's next week, isn't it? Next week's election. Make sure you vote. It's your opportunity to have a say in what your campus life is like next year and beyond. Thank you very much, everyone.